Hello everyone, Weather Jamaica here. Welcome to this updated video on the weather across Jamaica and the rest of the Caribbean. It is Tuesday evening, October 31, 2023. Now before we jump into it, please ensure that you guys like the video, share it, subscribe and tap notification bell so that you'll be notified every time I post a brand new video. Feel free to leave a comment down in the comment section letting me know what the day has been like in your area recently. Also feel free to ask any other related question that you might have about the future of the weather in your specific area. Alright, so let us take a look at what the global models are showing for the month of November in terms of rainfall across the Caribbean, including Jamaica. Taking a look first at the CFS, that's the climate forecast system, and we do see the greens and even going into some amount of blues, especially across sections of southern and eastern Jamaica, valid for the month of November 2023. So that is some welcome news. As long as it doesn't trigger some intense flash flooding, we'll take all the rainfall that we can get in the last month of the rainy season. And do we see consensus on the other global models? We see some kind of consensus. We see more in the way of greens that represent above normal rainfall for the month of November across Jamaica, including portions of the Greater Antilles. That's on the CANSIPS model. What does the NMME model show? Something similar to what the CANSIPS model is showing. So I guess the outlier here is the CFS, which shows some tremendous rainfall, even getting up into the blues right there across sections of western Haiti, eastern Cuba, and sections of Jamaica. Either way, all three models are showing consensus in terms of the fact that yes, we will be receiving some amount of above normal rainfall across the island of Jamaica for the month of November. As it relates to what the CARICOF is showing, that's the Caribbean Climate Outlook Forum, we can see that this map is showing for October, November, and December 2023. And we do see Jamaica embedded in some amount of whites that represent the normal rainfall. Keep in mind that this is valid for the 3 months, October that we're just wrapping up right now, November as well as December. So normal rainfall is what is expected for Jamaica. The islands east of Jamaica definitely getting in some amount of above normal rainfall, as indicated by those darker colors. As it relates to the temperature forecast, however, for what the CARICOF is showing, we can see that valid for the months November, December, and even into January 2024. We see a lot of oranges right there across the Jamaica area, and that's representative of some amount of above normal temperatures. And we know that most of us are not looking forward to that. Hopefully, instead of that, we get what we see Haiti, Dominican Republic, and Puerto Rico getting, and that seems to be some amount of normal temperatures. And if we take a look at what the models are showing in terms of the accumulated precipitation, and we're going to be looking at the next 7 days in terms of the amount of rainfall that's expected. And if we take a look at the Euro model at first, let's see if we can find the image. Alright, so the next 168 hours from the Euro model. So we're looking at the next 7 days. So we can see that in terms of rainfall, we do have the consensus. We do have the agreement with what the GFS model is showing in terms of the amount of rainfall that's expected across the Caribbean, including Jamaica, especially eastern Jamaica is where we see the most of that rainfall for the next 7 days. Keep in mind that this is valid from now up until the 7th day of November. And we can see that rainfall stretching all the way from the central to the western Caribbean, especially across sections of Central America, where we see those brighter colors that indicate some tremendous rainfall, yellows. And if we take a look at the key on the right, that's representative of even up to 24 or a little bit less in terms of the inches. So definitely a lot of rainfall in store. Jamaica could get in on some amount of, let's say, maybe 4 inches of rainfall, close to 5. Either way, we see the consensus, and that's what we usually look for in terms of the rainfall. Alright, so let us take a look at what the United States National Hurricane Center is showing on their 7-day graphical tropical weather outlook. We can see that that area that they've been monitoring across the eastern Caribbean has now made its way into portions of the central Caribbean, so it's now located to the south of the Dominican Republic. And we also noticed that it is not shaded in red anymore. There's no longer a high chance of this system developing. It now has a medium chance, only up to 60% chance, and we need to still keep a close eye on this because we know how quickly these systems can spin up, especially considering that there's a lot of warm, very above normal sea surface temperatures across the Caribbean. According to the Hurricane Center, it says here, shower and thunderstorm activity in association with a trough of low pressure over the east central Caribbean Sea remains disorganized, while environmental conditions appear only marginally conducive for further development during the next several days. A tropical depression could form by the latter part of this week as the system moves generally westward over the central and southwestern Caribbean Sea. Regardless of development, this system has the potential to produce heavy rains over portions of Central America towards the end of the week. And we see that it now has a 20% chance of formation within the next 2 days. So we have to still stay vigilant to see exactly what unfolds. We know sometimes these systems develop to the south of us and we're still affected by the outer rain bands, especially across the island of Jamaica. So definitely stay tuned in case we get in on some amount of isolated flash flooding. And if we take a look at what the supercomputer models are showing in terms of the rainfall and wind, the Euro model still showing the greens that represent that rainfall. Look at all of that rainfall into Wednesday on the Euro model. Lots of greens even into Thursday and Friday. And we can see even better the airflow pressure where it's located by 15Z on Friday. This is actually around 10 p.m. on Thursday. That's where the Euro model has the system forecast to be right there to the southwest of Jamaica, and regardless of its location, we can still see a lot of greens that represent rainfall across the Jamaica area. What does the GFS show? If we take a look at the time period, we do see that area of low pressure spinning away, and if we take a look at 12Z on Friday, which is actually 7 a.m. on Friday, we see that there's a bit of a difference. The Euro model has it a bit more to the west of there. The GFS has it a bit more to the south of there, or south of Jamaica. Either way, we need to stay vigilant to see exactly what unfolds, especially considering that both models are showing some amount of rainfall across the Jamaica area as indicated by the greens. Alright, so let's just take a look at the surface map of the Atlantic for this evening. We can see that we still have an area of low pressure right there across sections of Jamaica, and that's responsible for the amount of rainfall that we've been getting across the island even up to this hour. It's also responsible for the overcast skies that most of us have been getting for today, not to mention the heavy rainfall that we got in, especially with some amount of thunderstorm activity across the island last night. If we take a look at the visible satellite images of Jamaica before the sun went down, we can see the clouds associated with that area of low pressure right there across sections of Jamaica, eastern Cuba, and the clouds associated with that other area of low pressure right there to the south of the Dominican Republic. We can also see that it has less clouds than what we saw yesterday. We had a lot of deep convection right here across portions of the central and eastern Caribbean. Now it has dwindled a bit, which explains why the Hurricane Center has decreased the chances of it developing quickly. And if we actually take a look at what was predicted in yesterday's video about the weather across Jamaica for Tuesday, it was stated that most of the island, or most of central and eastern parishes, will be receiving some amount of rainfall, especially during Tuesday afternoon. And we know central parishes, we're talking about those parishes in the county of Middlesex. Eastern parishes, we're talking about those parishes in the county of Surrey. And what ended up happening? If we take a look at last night's post, this was 9:45 p.m. last night, Monday night. We definitely had some amount of clouds bringing thunderstorms to sections of St. Catherine, Kingston, St. Andrew, and St. Thomas. Definitely got in on some amount of thunderstorm activity. Even although the rainfall was not tremendous, we definitely got in on what a lightning storm does. Although it wasn't showing much in the way of some tremendous sparkling white that represent thunderstorm activity, we definitely got in on some amount of thunderstorm activity, and the lightning strikes were definitely some amount of cloud to ground lightning So that really explained all the, the tremendous thundering that was taking place last night. And we even got in on some more rainfall as the night progressed into Tuesday morning. Definitely saw that era blow up, especially across sections of central and eastern Jamaica. Lots of thunderstorms taking place during the night. Many persons waking up to a wet ground, and most of these clouds sticked around for the entire day across the east, bringing down the temperatures, and we were indeed grateful for that. Taking a look to another post that was made at 2:56 p.m. on our Twitter page. Keep in mind that these posts are also made on our Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok page. So if you are on one of those social media platforms, please ensure that you follow us there. You can see that at 2:56 p.m. we definitely had some amount of clouds, bringing some amount of isolated showers and overcast skies to sections of some central parishes and eastern parishes. High level clouds mainly across eastern parishes, and some of this even spilled into sections of some western parishes. So definitely sections of Manchester, St. Elizabeth, St. James, sections of Trelawney, St. Anne got in on some amount of rainfall. Northern Clarendon, northwestern St. Catherine got in on some amount of rainfall right there. And we even have some of our commenters confirming the rainfall. He keeps, he satisfies, stating little lightning in St. Thomas, the rain has started. Cardi D, and keep in mind that these comments are focusing on yesterday or last night into this morning. Cardi D stating light rain for thunder and lightning in Portmore. Rochelle Petit stating it's 3:27 a.m. and it's raining in Kingston 11. And Cheryl Fisher stating just a drizzle of rain so far and the lightning and thunder has subsided. Skipping ahead, Veronica Gaynor stating Portmore all night rain. Winston Foster Junction St. Elizabeth looking bleaky now. Blessings Forever stating rain is currently falling in St. Mary, and Blessed One stating wet. And if we take a look at the post that was made just an hour ago at 6:15 p.m., we saw that we indeed still had some amount of clouds bring overcast skies and some amount of thunderstorms to sections of some central and eastern parishes in Jamaica, especially around sections of Kingston, St. Andrew, and St. Catherine right here, where we see all of the sparkling white dots. And we even have the confirmation from Fest Genius stating lightning flashes and grumbling thunder right now. Storm in Portmore from Judine Doherty. And if we take a look at the visible satellite images of Jamaica before the sun went down, we can see that flow coming in from the northwest or the northwest. It's like what we said in yesterday's video with that low level flow with the wind. Well, it was the eastern side of the island that had more of a southerly kind of flow, and then all of that air piled up across sections of especially central Jamaica where we had that thunderstorm activity. If we reload the pages for the infrared satellite images, we do indeed see where we still have that thunderstorm activity. So definitely sections of St. Catherine, Western St. Andrew, Kingston, definitely getting us in on some amount of thunderstorm activity right now across sections of Manchester at recording hour. The time is now 7:20 p.m. So definitely getting in on some thunderstorm activity across Manchester right now. Maybe spilling into sections of St. Elizabeth or sections of Clarendon later on. And if we take a look at the Cuban Doppler radar images, let's reload the page so that we get the latest images. We can see that even up to now we still have a lot of rainfall right there across sections of northern Jamaica, as indicated by the greens. The yellows that represent moderate to even heavy rainfall, and we can also see that rainfall that we see across sections of Manchester as well as sections of St. Catherine. So that indeed confirms the rainfall that we're seeing across the satellite maps. So we know the Doppler radar images show the actual rainfall as opposed to satellite images, and we can have cloud cover over an area, not necessarily rainfall, which is why the Doppler radar images are so important. Hopefully the Jamaican radar is fixed shortly. Taking a look at the temperatures right now, we can see we have 25 degrees Celsius in both Montego Bay and Kingston, and by around 3 a.m. on Wednesday the temperature should be around the same. Taking a look at the temperature forecast for tomorrow by the GFS model, we do see Jamaica still embedded in some yellows and oranges that represents some amount of above normal temperatures, maybe 1 to 2 or even 3 degrees Celsius above normal temperatures. And this is valid for 18D on Wednesday, which is actually 1 p.m. on Wednesday. I know the normal temperatures for the month of November is about 88 degrees Fahrenheit. That's about the equivalent of 30 degrees Celsius. So we're starting to dwindle down. So if we should be receiving up to 3 degrees Celsius above normal temperatures for tomorrow, it should be anywhere from 30 to 33 degrees Celsius at most. As relates to the dry air map, we still see a lot of moist airs indicated by the blues, stretching all the way from the eastern to the western Caribbean, and we're indeed grateful for that. As relates to the Saharan dust, still much of the same, just the northeastern Caribbean getting in on some slight hazy weather, but that won't even be that noticeable considering that the plume is not that vigorous. Jamaica should be in the clear for 2 p.m. on Wednesday in terms of Saharan dust. As relates to the wave forecast for Jamaica, you do see that Wednesday has the least amount of waves or wave height surrounding the island, as indicated by the lighter scale of blue on the key at the bottom right, and that's due to the fact that the winds are not going to be that strong at all, coming in from the east, averaging maybe up to 10 knots at most. On the western side of the island, however, we see those winds coming in from the north, especially considering that there is a cold front out in the Gulf of Mexico, and that's responsible for the winds out in the west. So we can see those winds coming in from the north across sections of western Jamaica, averaging anywhere from maybe 10 to 15 knots. Either way, we do see that we don't have much in the way of winds in the forecast for especially sections of inland areas of some central parishes. And with the upper level wind shear coming in from the southeast, that's definitely going to be causing more of that rainfall to linger into the evening hour, something similar to what we've been experiencing right now. And if we take a look at the rainfall forecast, we see a lot of rainfall for the next 24 hours across Jamaica. This is valid for 8 p.m. 8 a.m. They should say 8 a.m. Alright, so this is valid for 8 a.m. Jamaica time. No, just 7 a.m. Jamaica time. Let's go back a little bit. Okay, here we go. So this is valid for 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is actually 7 a.m. Jamaica time. We do see the consensus that yes, we have some amount of blues across sections of eastern Jamaica around at that time. The GFS showing something similar, some amount of blues, even some greens across sections of St. Thomas and Portland that indicate a lot of rainfall around that time period. Some early morning rainfall definitely in store. Skipping it to about 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we see the consensus definitely sections of eastern and especially central Jamaica getting in on those blues that represent rainfall. That's 10 a.m. Jamaica time, by the way. Skipping ahead again to about 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is actually 4 p.m. Jamaica time. Look at what we see. Definitely some amount of rainfall, but some amount of contrast. Look at that. Central Jamaica definitely getting in on some amount of rainfall, as indicated by those blues, darker shades of blues across inland areas. Euroman is a bit more robust, showing that rainfall surrounding the island, especially across the north. But we know we're looking for a consensus, and we do see the consensus that definitely section of central Jamaica is going to be in for some amount of rainfall. And if we take a look at the future, this is valid for 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is actually 8 p.m. Jamaica time. And yes, we see the consensus, definitely rainfall dancing around the island, especially on the north coast. It's definitely going to be quite a festive Wednesday, very wet. And the accumulated precipitation forecast maps confirm this. Look how red it is. We know the more colorful these maps get, the more rainfall that's expected. And we do see all that rainfall across eastern, central, and western Jamaica. That's where we have the consensus. But as it relates to the rainfall totals, we see up to 1.21 inches of rainfall across sections of eastern Jamaica, 1.29 across sections of Portland. That's on the euro. What does the GFS show? 1.1 across sections of St. Thomas. So we do indeed see the consensus, especially eastern Jamaica going to be getting in a some amount of tremendous rainfall, maybe triggering some amount of flash flooding as well. So there could be some amount of, let's say, isolated flash flooding taking place. So ensure that you remain vigilant, and remember to turn around, don't drown if you come upon flooded roadways. Alright, so that's it for the forecast across Jamaica. And we're indeed grateful for the rainfall that we're going to be getting. If you guys notice, the month of November, we usually see a dip in the amount of rainfall that we get. And it's nice to know that we're entering the month of November on a good note with the amount of rainfall that's expected. Keep in mind that the bar graph at the top shows Kingston, the bar graph at the bottom shows Montego Bay. And as usual, Montego Bay usually gets more rainfall than Kingston. But we'll take all the rainfall that we can get before we head into our very dry months, a dry period from December to April. Alright, so let's just take a look at the rest of the Caribbean. So we can see all of that cloud cover bringing some amount of thunderstorm activity, especially across sections of Venezuela, Colombia, Panama, Costa Rica, Nicaragua, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras as usual. If we even take a look at the Doppler radar images of the northeastern Caribbean for today, we didn't see much taking place at all, just some hit or miss showers. Right now, definitely some rainfall up to the east of Dominica, up to the north of Barbados, sections of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, St. Lucia, especially the waters around those islands, not to mention the waters around Puerto Rico. If we take a look at the weather view of Doppler radar images, we can see some amount of rainfall right there to the north of the ABC Islands, rainfall affecting sections of Guatemala, Belize, Honduras as well. And as it relates to the temperature forecast, we do see that for the most part, majority of the Caribbean should be getting in on some amount of slightly above normal temperatures. As it relates to the Saharan dust forecast for 2 p.m. on Wednesday, we do see the Saharan dust stretching all the way from Africa into portions of the central main development region and western main development region. Some of this seeping into Puerto Rico and sections of the Leeward Islands, but it won't be that vigorous, it won't be that robust to be causing some amount of hazy skies or trigger some asthma or sinusitis kind of issues at all. As it relates to the wave forecast, we do see the darker blues across sections of the central and eastern Caribbean that indicate 1 meter wave heights or even 1.5 meter wave heights, while sections of the central and western Caribbean are going to be getting in on those lighter colors, those lighter shades of blues that represent up to 0.5 for an inch of rainfall. Look at the Gulf of Mexico, lots of purples and reds that indicate up to 2 meter wave heights or more. And all of that makes sense because the winds are usually strongest wherever we have those high wave heights. So the yellows represent up to 25 knot winds across the Gulf of Mexico, which explains those high wave heights, and the purples and the reds that we just saw. And the darker blues represent the least amount of winds, up to maybe 5 knot winds or less across the central and western Caribbean, while it's the eastern Caribbean that's going to be receiving up to 10 to maybe even 15 knots coming in from the east. And we can see that curvature to the winds as well across the Jamaica area for Wednesday. Definitely some amount of broad air flow pressure, some amount of spinning taking place, which explains all the rainfall that's expected. And we can see that rainfall even better on the accumulated precipitation forecast by both the Euro and the GFS models. We can see both maps definitely showing some tremendous rainfall in store for sections of the central Caribbean, including sections of eastern Cuba, Jamaica, Haiti, Dominican Republic. And keep in mind that these maps from the Euro and the GFS are showing all the rainfall that's expected from now up until 10 p.m. on Wednesday, and we do see that even stretching down into sections of the ABC Islands, sections of Colombia, Venezuela, sections of Guyana might get on some amount of isolated showers as well across sections of Barbados, St. Vincent, St. Lucia, Martinique, Dominica, Guadeloupe. Those areas that we just saw getting in on some rainfall right now on the Doppler radar images, definitely going to be getting in on some more. And look at those purples across sections of Central America. So definitely sections of Panama, Costa Rica, especially Nicaragua, Honduras, southern Honduras, especially El Salvador. Maybe some isolated showers across sections of Guatemala and Belize, but we do see some rainfall across sections of the Yucatan Peninsula, western Cuba, and sections of the Bahamas. I know that when both maps are showing something similar like this, the chances of it actually happening are much higher. Alright, so that's it for today. Thanks for watching.